Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're going to be diving down into the charts, taking a look at what is going on with BTC, Bitcoin, to see whether or not we are looking for a deeper pullback or whether or not we're going to invalidate any lows and actually continue the growth to the upside. Hopefully I'll make this nice, quick, simple and clean for you guys. So with that being said, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you are going to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all of that said, done, and out of the way, let's jump on down into the desktop and take a look at what is going on here with Bitcoin. Okay guys, we're going to really start things off on our hourly chart here just to review what's been going on most recently and what we would kind of expect to happen next here. So as you can see, we had the ABC down. We kind of found this nice bottom area, approximately $42,500, a little bit higher than that, but around the area there. Again, in line pretty much with the kind of support and resistance lines that we also see. We then had this really good green candle to the upside, and you know, this is actually probably really visible on the smaller time frames. I'll bring up the 15-minute just for a second here and see if we can kind of see anything in here. So the double bottom, so A, B, and then C. That is actually an impulsive move just on the measurement here. I wouldn't even need to measure it to know that that's impulsive, but obviously didn't hold it. We crumbed back down and we actually crossed that low point. So we know that that is not impulsive up. Okay, so it's important to know that. But again, these micro movements on the small, they're very, very messy. You wouldn't want to spend too much time looking at them, and the lowest really you want to look at is the hourly, and even that to a point is a bit too much. You want to probably go up a little bit, but we'll continue here. And we can see this nice push up. It was invalidated down, so ABC with a double bottom with the C at the top here. ABC down, almost a double top, creating this bearish look, but again ABC down, ABC up. That looks to get completed at about there. It could actually go up a little bit more, but I think that's actually not too bad, and we are already kind of starting to see a little bit of a correction. We're finding this upper resistance. This is something I was talking about yesterday. Just up here, again, you know, this is the key area, $44,500. You would expect to see resistance here. We kind of pushed up to it at this point. We pushed up to it here, and again, ultimately, all of that is pretty strong resistance. Now, what you actually have here on a slightly bigger scale is this big A, this B, and the C. So that one there could, in theory, go up a little bit further. So if we were to measure it, we'll grab hold of our Fibonacci retracements. We'll just take it from that high to the low, the double bottom there on that smaller time frame, transpose that over. In here, we can see that we could potentially push up a little bit further. Nothing too much, though. It would have been about 44,800. You know, but that resistance is the resistance. That's the 786 as well. So natural kind of block there. To have a strong resistance line right on top of that 786, understandable that you're going to start to see a pullback, right? So that looks like we are going to start to see a nice ABC down. And one of the things here that we're looking on the bigger kind of scale is obviously this is a big A wave down, this B and the B wave up, and then we're looking to pull back down towards these kind of lower ranges. Now, that's still very much valid until proven otherwise. Obviously, what we are looking out for here in terms of invalidation will be basically pushing higher than that fifth wave at about 45,500. I think it was like 45,500, 45,492 to be exact. It's right up there. Okay, so in order to, you know, prevent this low from coming in, we have to push up here. Okay, I don't think that's going to happen you know, per se, but anything's possible, and I'll go through why I think it is possible and why I think it's not probable, but why I think it's possible. That's probably the best way of articulating it if you get those the right way around. So yeah, let's actually take a look at that now. So we have the stochastic RSI here on the hourly needs a correction. So that's kind of allowing us to see this natural turning point from the 786. Now, rejections from the 786 normally, you know, do lead us going lower than our originating A wave here. Okay, that's usually kind of how it looks. And you go back in history and you see a retracement and it bounces up to the 786 or the 702, you're going to go lower normally than where you were previously. Okay, that's just kind of what you see in these kind of waves down. And specifically, if you have an A wave coming down here with a B wave up, your C wave should at least be that A, and obviously greater as the 1-to-1 ratio kicks in. So ultimately, yeah, we are looking to come down lower here. The stochastic RSI will allow that, and again, you know, that's not too bad. We can, of course, see that the volumes have kind of dropped off to where they were previously. So the volumes are going to be an interesting kind of tell to see if we're going to lose momentum. Obviously, the stochastic RSI are really sensitive to price movements, so any kind of momentum changes are going to be really noticeable in that stochastic RSI. But for the most part here, you know, this whole push up, if you will, the volumes diminished, and of course as we start to see a nice push down and those volumes increase, I think that's going to give us those low points for accumulation that we've been missing out on. It's, I say missing out on, but if we weren't buying up here, for example, and I was not, I was waiting for confirmation past 45k, so we've had the confirmation that those lower lows are off the cards. Now we can actually start to look at these on this way down, all of these accumulation points, such as these areas in these lower points, right? So, and that's kind of what we're looking for. We're looking for accumulation before we take that next step to the upside. So the lower that you go, for me, I think is a good sign, because it will allow us to accumulate. But obviously, the shallower the point of retracement, the better I think it's going to be for the long term kind of push to the upside. That being said, though, if significant profits aren't taken at this point, they'll probably be taken at a later stage as well. So we want some form of healthy correction, and I've spoken about this before. For 2017, 2018 bull run, it was a 40% about 40% pullback for Bitcoin when profits were being taken, right? And we've so far seen a pullback of 6%. It's absolutely nothing. I'm in my mind thinking a nice 10% is pretty lean anyway. If we happen to pull back to 15%, we're still in that really good healthy stage. And if we were to go down towards 20%, I still think that is perfectly fine. It's the one thing that we want to avoid is actually coming down any lower than here. But I think if we were to just retrace into this lower range of about $39,000, I think that's approximately about 11%. Let me just check. 12%. So, pretty much between 12 and 13%. I think that is going to be a really comfortable pullback for Bitcoin. Not that I want to see it that low per se, but it'd be a fantastic accumulation point. Now, let's get back into what I was kind of talking about before, right? Why I think we are probably going down a little bit lower before going up. And I say probably, and I also talk about how it is possible actually we just continue to blast to the upside, right? So that stochastic RSI is supporting a move to the downside. The wave counts are supporting a move to the downside. And the volumes here, the fact that they're dropping off as we're trying to move up, is indicating a move to the downside. So we'll look for that volume increasing as we look to pull back, and that will encourage us to think that, yes, this is more than likely the outcome. On the flip of that, though, we go over to the 4-hourly chart, we can see the stochastics in the opposite position. The stochastic has completely corrected itself from the overbought area that it was at the top of wave 5. So pulling back down here into the wave A, wave B here hasn't really impacted it too much. And, that's not going to support a move to the downside in a massive way. Instead, what we need to do is we need to see this stochastic RSI rise up if we want to have these low areas come in, right? So the 4-hourly chart isn't necessarily supporting a big move to the downside, which is interesting. But of course, that gives us encouragement to think that we might go ahead and break above this 5th wave high. And obviously, if that happens, then the accumulation that we would have down here, that isn't going to happen when it's not likely to occur. And on that kind of flip of that, we're actually looking at pushing up in good recovery to the upside. And the 4-hourly chart here on the stochastic RSI does support such a move. And as you can see here, the volumes were dropping off as we're pulling down here in our A wave, if you will. And they started to push up a little bit with our B wave. So the opposite of what you're seeing on the hourly chart. So actually the 4-hourly chart shows us a bit of encouragement, still finding the upper resistance, obviously. And obviously then you take a look at these, they're not giving us a lot of confidence. But that being said, we are actually kind of looking at this as a pretty good, interesting area to say that we're setting these higher lows for the most part across here. So that's giving you some encouragement. And other than this wick here, there's very little to talk about that upper end other than the resistance, which is, we've spoken about that. But for the most part, I think, this is actually encouraging. It could potentially see us moving on up. So I'll give you both those scenarios. I think it's more probable that we go down, but, it's also possible that we do push up. I mean, it's pretty much driven from this 4-hourly chart with that data. The 8-hourly is in a bit of a recovery, or a bit of a in terms of the stochastic RSI pulling down for recovery. This actually allows us to kind of think about what's going on here. So we obviously need to get into the oversold area. We're not there yet. This supports the 1-hourly chart in terms of that pullback taking us down into those lower ranges. That effectively means that we are likely to see this, kind of, you saw it right there, just updated into the oversold area before we potentially start thinking about any move to the upside. So it's probably possible, like the 4-hourly, that we go up and this basically just rides all the way up there, takes out that 5th wave high and continues to grow. That's very possible. I just do not see it as very probable right now. And again, as we actually move up here, we can see the volume has decreased. Okay, so again, the opposite of what you're seeing on the 4-hourly. And this is a common thing that we're watching as we kind of move through these timeframes, as we move up. Hourly chart is indicating potential pullback. The 4-hourly chart is right down there as oversold. The 8-hourly is just arriving into the oversold area. And then the next thing that's really important that we get into, of course, is the daily. And this daily is indicating a pretty big pullback. Okay, it hasn't moved yet. We are still way up here in this overbought area on our daily chart, one red candle. So this is supporting what the hourly chart is indicating, a pullback. Okay, and I think this pullback is actually going to take us into a much deeper level than maybe many people actually kind of want to acknowledge. As I said, $39,000 would be a pretty reasonable area to expect Bitcoin to go down to. It's a pretty, it's not exactly a great retracement. From Bitcoin's history, you've had pretty significant retracements. We've had a 38% push up, a 10% pullback at that point is, or a 12% pullback, as I said, is perfectly valid and perfectly fine, and it's really on the smaller side of things. When we actually just zoom out here on our daily chart, and we start to think about the gains that were made here, I know we're kind of talking a smaller amount. It's more in line with this, I guess. The kind of pullbacks that we saw here, they were in that range of about 12% there. As we come up to this point here, we can see there was a pullback of about 9% in that range. And then obviously when we completed the actual peak of this third wave high, we saw an initial pullback of 18%. We then pushed up with a B wave, and then we fell down 17 or 18% there as well. So we've got to bear in mind that, a 6% pullback is really not what you're looking for. You're looking for a much deeper kind of pullback. I think 12% is perfectly valid, and I think on that journey to the upside, that should be expected. And obviously we can see here there's a most recent one. This was a 7% pullback, so that's not too bad. That's pretty much in line with kind of what we've seen so far. But that is also in that impulsive move to the upside. So we want to kind of be quite mindful over that we are outside of the impulsive move right now. We're in corrective mode. So we want to just be very cautious. But I do think that this hourly chart with that stochastic RSI quite high, it needs a pretty deep correction. We'll look for that kind of $41,700 range to come in, see where this stochastic RSI is. Obviously, this can wipe out incredibly quickly, and without doing any price damage, this thing could just go all the way down there, and that's that. It's very, very possible. So I wanted to kind of give you present you with what I'm seeing here. It's more probable that we come down towards $41,700, but it's very possible that Bitcoin pushes up. I just do not think it's very likely right now. I think ultimately this correction's only really just started, and we are looking at these slightly lower levels. Obviously, a pullback to the $41,700 range is about 8.3% from that high. Again, that seems quite shallow, so we'd have to review what goes on here with the stochastic RSI, if that is truly going to be the end of this corrective phase before potentially pushing up again. Obviously we'll be able to call that a little bit sooner. And of course, when we just jump back into our hourly chart, do bear in mind, guys, I'm just giving you what is the most probable, and I try to present both sides of the story here. If we do cross that $45,500 range, then those lows that I've just been talking about are invalid, and we are more than likely going to be pushing up. But that hasn't been invalidated yet, and therefore this is still very much valid, and what I do believe to be the most probable outcome, but we are very mindful of what would be required to invalidate such a move. So guys, I'm going to leave the video there. Hopefully you have found it useful and informative. If you have, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you are going to be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out. It's completely free. We're down there all the time, sharing TA, sharing kind of anything kind of crypto related. It's a fantastic community. We'd love to have you join us in Discord as well. With all that said, done and out of the way, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next one.